Before we get started with Scott and introduce Scott here and get into his presentation, and a couple of people who just wanted to speak a little bit about the organizations they're involved with. And the first one is Rob Weber, who's going to talk a little bit about Mini Demo.
How many of you are familiar with Mini Demo and Mini Bar? Guys, cool. How many of you have been to a Mini Demo before? So I'll tell you a bit about the organization and about the event. It's actually going to be in St. Cloud. So Mini Demo is an event that's really centered around taking action and not sort of talking, which is what I love about it. So it's a demo event, so essentially anywhere from 5 to 10 startups are basically able to demo their software. Ben Edwards asked me, that one of the co-founders of MiniStar, it's a 3,000 member organization that was started in the Twin Cities for the basically kind of advanced software and technology entrepreneurship in the state of Minnesota. Ben asked me a couple months back if we'd be interested in hosting the first mini demo outside of the Twin Cities. And I, of course, smiled and gleefully said yes. I think St. Cloud would love to host a cool event like Mini Demo. So President Potter over at St. Cloud State kind of got wind of it and basically kind of opened up his arms and volunteered whatever St. Cloud State could do to support it. So I went over there last Friday. We actually now have a date. April 12th, we'll be having the first Mini Demo St. Cloud. I'm expecting 200, we're going to set it up for 225 basically tickets. It's free to go, free to get into. And basically we're looking for demos. So if anybody has any software-oriented businesses or projects they'd like to demo, shoot me an email or just let me know sometime tonight. I can definitely put you on the list and they'll review it. And I guess, trying to think of it, I'm not sure how to register for the event yet. So if you're maybe at a future meeting demo or a Mobile St. Cloud meeting, we can kind of tell you how to register. The website is ministar.org. Some of the demoing companies, we're not sure who's going to be demoing. I know there will be a couple of, there will more than likely be at least 1 or 2 mobile applications, depending on the final kind of demoing list. And I'd say I highly recommend it. To me, it's one of the most exciting events. I don't know if anyone else have any comments on Mini Demo.
You forgot about the beer.
Oh yeah, there's beer, free beer, free food. It's going to be held at Atwood in the theater. If you guys have ever been in the theater, it holds 169. And then we have reserved the lounge. And it's one of the only events at St. Cloud State where there'll actually be beer. So that was actually, I had to twist some arms to get that accomplished, but they were supportive. So
there's a pretty good chance you're going to have to find a lot of people in the cities for tickets. Your best chance to get a ticket is follow this Turkey.
Oh, there you go.
Follow Mini Bar, they'll tweet tickets. The last event they had, which was
yeah, you guys demoed, right? The last one. Right?
These were the presenters at the last event. They sent out 250 tickets, and they were gone before everybody even knew that they were available. And they said, we'll open up 100 more tickets later this week or next week. They tweeted that 100 more tickets were available, and they were gone in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So all this Twitter feed and contest.
Yeah.
All this Twitter feed here.
And that was what that was that same time.
That was 350 total attendees.
Yeah.
And the last time they won 17 minutes.
Yeah.
But this is the list of people who presented at the last.
So Daybreak Heroes, that was a mobile game. You guys, of course, contributed mobile. Does anyone else have mobile? That was probably maybe a different mobile application.
Yeah, that's a very exciting event. Anyone else have any comments on Mini Demo? It structured as 7-minute demos, right? So we'll roll through it pretty fast. And I've been to pretty much every technology event around the state, and it's the only event I've gotten really passionate about. The whole MiniStar organization. I think there are other organizations that are doing some good things too, but they're definitely out there, very exciting.
Well, one of the things now is really good for getting exposure. They're getting media attention in the Twin Cities. There's reporters going to it. There's bloggers there. I mean, if you really have something you want to demo, this is a great place for you to get noticed in the state. Not a lot of influential people are attending, and so you should definitely give it a shot if you have something.
Great networking. It's one of the few nerd conferences where the nerds actually talk a lot. So it's great networking,
Peter helps with
as
that.
well as there's people that are paying attention to the investor community too, so definitely worth it.
Hey Rob, Ryan, can you guys talk about how you get a demo submitted if somebody has a cool demo?
Send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets on the list. I think they also have a demo submission if you want to try that on the website. Let me know though. I have a list that I started already, so you can just email me, or you can also send me a paper airplane with your demo ID on it too. That works.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Rob. So we have one more speaker here before we get started. Casey Allen came up here from the Twin Cities, made the trek, and is going to talk a little bit about a pretty cool organization that just got started down in the Twin Cities called Project Skyway, which is actually a startup technology incubator that started aimed at trying to help get some successful startups off the ground here starting this summer. So I'll turn it over to Casey.
Cool. So I just want to, actually, I want to ask, how many of you have actually heard of Project Skyway? Because it's a fairly new project. So you have heard of it, just heard it, you don't even have to know anything about it. Chance is about 20%. Now, how many of you have heard of Y Combinator, Techstars? 7%. If you've heard of Y Combinator, Techstars, you feel pretty familiar with what they do and how they do it. We are bringing that model to Minnesota. And I say Minnesota on purpose, in Twin Cities. So the big goal of ours is to reach out to entrepreneurs that are currently aware, not here in the dorm room, or if you're at Starbucks late at night on weekends drinking away on something. We want to help you get from here to here in a short amount of time. So if you're not familiar with what Y Combinator is, here it is in a nutshell. In August, we're going to take 10 startups, tech startups, work on SaaS or mobile, and we're going to surround them for 3 months, the best mentors that they could ever want, need. These are guys that have already done it, guys that have already built companies, guys that have already raised money, perhaps lots of it, guys that perhaps have sold a company, maybe even done it twice or thrice. These guys that are going to come in and actually work side by side with all of the startup teams. We're going to be bringing in investors to help the entrepreneurs position the message, the pitch, their deck, and overall the product so that if and when they need to raise money, they're in a good position to do that. And then we make that introduction to investors. We seed them with a little bit of money. We haven't decided how much, but every single team is probably going to get 15 to 20K for 3 months. It's not meant to make you wealthy, it's meant to allow you to focus on nothing but your startup for 3 months straight and not have to worry about doing consulting or having a part-time job. So for 3 months, if you're one of the 10 startups, you are able to get a massive amount of traction. If you were just in the idea stage, we'll get you to beta. If you're in the beta stage, we'll get you live, perhaps revenue. If you already have a site with revenue, we'll get to the next level. But the good news is that it should be a life-changing event for any entrepreneur, no matter your skill level, no matter your role, whether you're a programmer, whether you're the biz dev guy, whether this is your second or third startup, or even just your first, which is totally fine. We're really excited because we know it's going to be a game changer. We know that so many entrepreneurs know they're on something, really passionate, really driven, got a great team, they know their space, but they just need help figuring out the model, or they need help trying to raise money, or they need help finding somebody that knows that space way better than they do, that can step in and be an advisor, be a coach to them, and really help them get to the next level. So that's my quick monologue. Applications start in April. We take 10 startups in August. If you want to follow us more closely, go to projectskyway.com. The website is hideous right now. We're doing a site redesign over this month. We don't have a logo yet. We're going to actually get a logo out in the next 2 months. We're going to be cranking away for about 3 months on this. It's come to formation pretty quickly. It's being funded by a very successful software entrepreneur named Wizetta and Jim Hurley. He runs a software company that's just a cash machine. Just prints out tons of money. He's 42. He's in a position to retire, but instead of retiring, he wants to just focus on mentoring. And this is the vehicle he wants to do to get there. He actually, first time we met for coffee, told me how he called Paul Graham and tried to get Paul to allow him to bring Y Combinator here to Minneapolis. And Paul Graham said, no fucking way. But then I said, fine, I'll just do it myself. So we're really excited. Like I said, the application process starts in April. Follow us on Twitter or sign up on the mailing list and stay in the loop. If you're working on something, SaaS or mobile, our only catch is that it can't be pure mobile. We're gonna expect you to also have a web presence of some way or fashion. But if you're working on either of those two, we want you. We're interested in you. And it doesn't matter how far you are, doesn't matter how old you are or young you are. If you're solid and you think you know you're on something big, we want to hear from you. We want you. So I want to cut myself off there and just open myself to any kind of questions that anybody might have about the program. Anything else? Happy to answer questions.
So Casey, you have a question, Tom? Oh, I was going to ask Casey, how many, so you said 10, they'll be selecting 10 startups to stick in the program, and that's for, that'd be June or August, or what was it?
So the application process starts in April.
Yeah.
Between April and July, we're going to filter through hundreds of applicants and find those 10 that just knock our socks off. We're actually saying up to 10. So in case we only see 8 or 9 plans and teams, actually teams and plans in that order, of importance that we are really stoked about, that we think are really on something, then that's all we'll be. So yes, up to 10. The plan is 10 this year, 2011, then 20 next year, 2012. And we'll see how it goes. I can't promise that the year after. Aaron.
Do you have a bias towards teams, or are you taking individual principal?
So it's a great question. A couple things that makes us unique from Y Combinator Techstars. Number one, we're open to a single founder. If you are a single founder, you would never get into any accelerator program in the U.S., any ones that currently exist, any of the 65, 70 that exist. Most of them have a pretty steadfast belief that single founders fail at much higher rates. May or may not be true, there's no empirical data on that. We're open to the idea that one person or one guy might have the ability, compassion, and drive, and knowledge and know-how to just kill it. So we're open to teams of up to 5, but we're also equally open to, with no bias, single founders, as long as they're solid and they really, really, really know the space, and they've done a decent amount of validation. Actually talking to people in that space, sitting down, having lots and lots of coffees, or lots and lots of meetings with folks in that space, and they know that it's a real pain, and they know that the path they're on may not be the perfect path, may not be the one, but they know they're on pretty much the right path. And as long as they're willing to pivot about 20 or 30 times in the process, we'll keep that. So, good question. Kind of in parallel with that, another thing that makes us unique is that you actually don't have to be a developer. So if you're a team 2 or team 3, you don't have any development on your team, we're cool with that. We've got a partner in India that we are going to be hooking you up with, helping you create the scope, and sitting down with business analysts and actually helping you outsource your MVP. So this is huge. We think this is a massive value add. It's something that we can teach most tech entrepreneurs. If you're a tech entrepreneur and you have any kind of sizable company and you haven't or don't know how to outsource something, that puts you at a massive disadvantage. And so not only are you going to learn about 106 things about starting a company with us, you're also going to learn how, if you want and if you need, how to outsource at least your basic prototype. We'll help you with that. So it's pretty huge. Any questions?
All team members need to be in Minnesota.
So we are going to expect all team members to actually be in the Twin Cities. Okay? So if you're here, we're going to ask for 3 months to actually either relocate or be willing and able to actually make it down to the Twin Cities several days a week. We're going to have speakers coming in and talking. We're expected to be there. We're going to have kind of like team dinners a couple nights a week. We're expected to be there. We're expected to be able to check in and so you can stay on track. Once you stop iterating, you're pretty much out of the program. We have pretty high expectations for the level of dedication that you're going to have. In fact, we have very high levels of dedication, which means no good job, okay? No school. You have to be a student. It has to be your life for 3 months. And we also want to know what you plan on doing after you're done with the program, because that weighs very heavily on whether we think that you are in the right spot in your life to really make this work. Our interests are aligned with every startup. Startup building and see who knows. Any other question? Happy to answer enough. Cool. If not, feel free to hit me up. I'd be more glad than honored to answer any questions you have, or if you have any questions or suggestions, or you want to be part of the plan, hit me up. We'd love to bring you into the fold.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Casey.
I love it.
All right. Now, introduce Scott Davis here. So Scott Davis comes up from the Twin Cities, so happy to have him join us. Really a pretty big leader in the technical community down in the Twin Cities. Some involvement, some of his involvements include founder of Ignition Point Solutions as the leader of the Twin Cities Silver Light User Group, president of the Biz Lounge Entrepreneurship Group, also an adjunct professor at St. Mary's. He has some information technology master's program there. Co-founder of Concord, which is actually winner of the first Twin Cities Startup Weekend that happened, October, September. So maybe you can show off some of that tonight. And in his free time, is kind enough to come and speak at events just like Mobile St. Cloud. So I'll turn it over to Scott.
Thank you. I also am on the planning team for Project Skyway as well. I found 10 minutes here and there, so I put it to get used. So tonight, I want to talk with you about Windows Phone 7. And how many people in here have actually seen a real Windows Phone 7 device live in the wild? There aren't that many. Wow, you guys are in the mobile space. You've seen it. But this is the Samsung Focus. It is by far the most popular Phone 7 phone. But there are a variety of other phones, and there's going to be even more here shortly. So Verizon's trying to pick it up February, March timeframe. So I have a smattering of things I want to go through tonight, and I really want you to tell me what you want to know about Windows Phone 7. I'm a pretty agile presenter. I fly to see the pants. I don't prepare long scripts. So I'm looking to the audience for what do you want to know? How many people want an overview of the platform? What is Windows Phone 7 and how does it work in general? Live tiles and things like that. Things we see on TV. By the way, who has a Windows Phone 7? One. What is wrong with the rest of you? Don't you watch TV? You will never drop a Windows Phone 7 in a urinal. Do you not watch TV? Okay. That's why I have this one, is because I never want to drop it in a urinal. Guaranteed never to be dropped that way. Okay, so platform overview, I saw a fair number of hands on that. How many people want to look at code? Okay, we're going to look at code. How many want to hear the story of Concord? Okay, so those are the things that we're going to talk about tonight. And I think we should be able to get through most of that tonight before everything's said and done. So we'll be a little bit agile. I'll look for questions from the audience as we go. So if you have a question on how something works, if I know the answer, I want to answer it, but you need to ask it so that I can do that. This is a slide deck that I got from Jeff Brand. Jeff Brand is Microsoft evangelist. His primary focus is Windows Phone 7. And so I called Jeff and I said, hey Jeff, I'm going up to talk on Windows Phone 7. Do you have any slides for me? He said, well, there's a deck on my website, go pull it down. So this is the deck that Microsoft distributes to their developer evangelists. And some of these slides, I'm just going to say there's a slide, we're going to move on. I'll talk to the ones that I can talk to and give you the information that I know. So if this clicker thing works, there we go. So Microsoft did take a very radical approach to the way they built the phone from a UI point of view. I think that for those who know the iPhone and know the Android, this doesn't look anything. Oh, he's got these time. Nice, yeah. Okay. This is going to make this real fun. Let's go back. Come on, back. All right, so hopefully it won't move. We'll have to start to do this. Well, wait. We'll see if it moves again. Maybe I just needed to not touch the mouse. So they took the point of view of they wanted you really to be able to see a lot of what was going on in your phone without having to actually open up the apps. What are my Facebook friends doing without having to launch a Facebook app? Do I have any email? Do I have any text messages? Have I missed any phone calls? Did I leave voicemail? And to do that in a very prominent fashion. In addition to that, you've got these tiles here. You can see there's a me tile with a picture of the person here. But you can take the live time for any of your Facebook contacts or any of your live contacts if you have live accounts, and put them right on the front screen. And if they have an update or if they've posted a picture, you will see the tile slide up and down and flip over and show you their latest Facebook status or show you the latest picture that they've posted on there without having to open up an app. It's right there on your live tile. So on my phone, I keep my mom and my wife and my sister on the front of my phone. And so anytime my sister posts an update or my mom posts a picture or my wife posts a picture of the kids, I can see it right there because those are the people I'm most concerned about keeping in contact with. They really wanted to have this smart design, so not have to dig through apps to find what you're looking for, but also have this integrated experience. And I spoke to the fact that it's really well integrated with Facebook and with Live. We're really hoping we see Twitter and LinkedIn come in too, so we automatically are importing those contacts. The other thing that's interesting from an integration point of view is that when you have a contact in your address book and you have their address, you click on their address and it goes right to the map. You click on a link in a web page and it goes. You can go to the map. You can bring up the phone call and call them, and the integration is the same throughout. Microsoft did a ton of research on how they wanted their UI to look. And so what they came up with is they found this pattern over and over again throughout all of the world that really kind of talked to what they call their metro theme. Very high contrast, different colors, easy icons, in circles and squares. And they wanted that to live throughout their phone. And what that means for us as application developers is that they really set the standard of Metro as the recommended UI. And so what happens, and we'll see this a little bit later when we get into some code, is that when you start building an app, if you want a list box or you want a button, you get the Metro theme, and you as a developer don't have to spend gobs and gobs of time saying, how can I make this look really good? Because the goal is that with Metro, it's not, we have to figure out what resonates with the user. And we've made it so standardized that if you build it in the Metro theme, chances are pretty good it's going to look like all the other apps, and it'll have that level of comfort with the user that, oh, I get this, I understand how this works. This looks like stuff that I'm used to and I understand. And so for those of us who are not pretty developers, we don't do pretty. We don't care. Now, you can go do pretty. You can do all the pretty you want. But you don't have to because it fits right in with the Metro theme, and all the apps have that default styling that fits right in with the phone. One of the things that I think is really interesting about the app is this concept of this panoramic control. I don't have any demos for this, but we can throw something together if we have enough time. But when you look at the App Store, and I wish I had these phones have video out. These phones do not have video out yet. I'm expecting we'll have HDMI out in future versions of the phone, because it'd be nice to just bring up the phone and swipe. In fact, if I walk into the crowd here, maybe we can get some of swiping. You can see what I mean. So this is the marketplace on the phone. As soon as it loads up, looking for the network. And the UI has this panoramic, like it just continues forever and ever and ever. And this is one of the reoccurring themes within UI development for Windows Phone. If we go in and we look at games, we look at the Xbox Live games. As soon as it loads, here are some of the good games we flip. But if we go flip to the side, we see the top games. We flip to the side again, we see the new games. And this concept of the UI just keeps going. It's just, if you just keep going to the left, you're going to see more and more UI. And this particular control is called the panoramic control because it looks like things. You can tell there's more here, right? The UI is intentionally clipped so that you know that you're supposed to continue to move on. The first UI I showed you was this panoramic control. This is called a pivot control, and this control has what looks like tabs. And so you can either click on the tab to jump to that tab, or you can use that swipe action to get through the tabs in a pivot control. Those are some of the two new controls that we haven't seen before, at least I hadn't seen before in phone development. If somebody out there knows otherwise, feel free to correct me. But it's kind of that concept of we flow through our applications and the applications go right through. We have a full office. Every Windows Phone comes with a full office. You can bring up a PowerPoint presentation with animations, modify the PowerPoint presentation, and push it right back to your company's SharePoint website, or put it up on SkyDrive. So when I first saw that, and I said, wait a minute, it's not only viewing a PowerPoint, but you can edit a PowerPoint with animations and all those transitions. Yeah, it really is full Office on the phone. Excel, Word, Office, and Outlook, PowerPoint and Outlook. So that's really cool. When you set up your phone, you can set it up. It took me about 30 to 60 seconds to get it connected to my Gmail account. It took me about a minute to get it connected to Exchange. I got it connected to Facebook and literally put in my username, put in my password, my live contact, my Xbox Live account, all of that stuff. Just it was set up, it was in there. Your gaming scores, there's the games down there at the bottom. It does support your Xbox Live account, so if you already have an Xbox Live account and you're playing games on the weekend, you're getting achievements, then that'll be reflected on your phone. And when you're playing games on your phone, Xbox Live games on your phone, you're getting achievements, those are reflected back in your Xbox. And there are games in development right now, I don't know that they're out yet, where you get to level 7 in the game on your Xbox, and that unlocks the level on your phone. You go play the phone level, and that unlocks a new level on your Xbox. And so we're going to see a lot more integration between the mobile interface, the television interface, the web interface. And so that's going to happen a lot more with the Windows Phone. I was talking with Aaron Weber. I assume most of you know Aaron Weber. And Aaron was saying when we were having breakfast one morning that his internet was down and it just wasn't any fun to play Xbox if you couldn't get achievements, so why even bother? And so it's that type of concept where I gain for achievements and it's really heavily integrated into the phone. So I probably already said some of these things. Every Windows phone, I think one of the things that's really, really appealing about the iPhone compared to the Android is that the iPhone is the same. An iPhone is an iPhone is an iPhone. I don't have to worry about will this run on an iPhone, because it's an iPhone. Where with an Android, as much as we like to think that the platform is standardized, those who have been doing enough Android development know that I'm building my apps to run 4 versions back because I can't guarantee that it'll run on new platforms, and I can't guarantee that they'll ever get upgraded because it's up to the hardware provider whether they get upgraded. But on the other hand, you've got the fact that you can only get an iPhone from Apple or on Craigslist. But Windows is trying to kind of be that happy medium. I mean, that's what Microsoft's always tried to do, is be the happy medium. They may not be the best on this side of the world, they may not be the best on this side of the world, but they're trying to be the middleman that can have a lot of success in between by filling the middle, right? The moderates. So the hardware for Windows Phone 7 is provided by a lot of manufacturers, but they all have the standard spec sheet. They all have the exact same size screen. They all have to have these 3 buttons on the front: back, menu, and search. And whether that's a capacitive touch like this one, these are just a glass button, and it's just a capacitive touch, or a physical button, it doesn't matter. Every phone has to have a camera button, and it has to be a 5-megapixel camera at a minimum. They all have GPS, accelerometer, compass, light and proximity sensors. They have to support 4 contact points at a minimum. They all have to have an onboard GPU that does DirectX acceleration for the video. They have to have a minimum of a 1 gigahertz processor and 256 megs of RAM. Minimum is 8 megs flash. And for the most part, who's a software developer can rely on the same things you rely on with an iPhone, is that if it runs in the emulator, I know it's going to run on the hardware. And so you only have to write once. How many people wrote apps for Windows Phone 5, 6, 6, 5 Windows platform? How was your experience? Not so good. Can I hear an awful? Awful, right? And I was there, and it was because I wrote my app once, I put it on an LG, and the dang thing didn't run, right? Or the screen's not quite the same size, right? It's things like that. Why doesn't the Bluetooth behave the way that I think it should? And the problem was that the OEMs had the right to modify the underlying OS and the drivers, and so the APIs weren't quite the same, and you need to do a little bit different initialization code. And you had to write really dynamic screen sizes. That's happening more and more in the Android space. You'd think it actually would start getting better, but it seems like it's getting worse in the Android space, where you're seeing more and more of the OEMs, but how we need to do this special thing for our phone to set ourselves apart. Windows is not going to let that happen. The WinPhone 7 phone requires this to have standardized hardware platform, interfaces, buttons, all of that stuff. The other thing is that Microsoft is controlling the updates, sort of. Microsoft pushes the updates. The carriers have the option to block one version of the update until they feel comfortable pushing it. But they can only ever get, at most, one update behind. As soon as that next update comes out, they have to push the second one. So they can't do what some carriers are doing on the Android platform by just saying, no, this phone, sorry, will never be updated, come buy a new phone. That's not going to happen with the Windows platform. You'll always be able to update. You may be delayed based on your carrier, but the carriers know they're going to have to support the update eventually, so there's really less incentive for them to try to block it for a longer period of time.
So Scott, does that mean there'll be less, would be sort of skinning of Windows, or is there any type of skinning that the OEMs will be able to do versus say Android?
Skinning?
Yeah.
There won't be, that's yet to be seen. The OEMs, in fact the Samsung has this, can have their own marketplace in it. So like Android, you can have customized marketplace for the carrier and for the hardware vendor. They get their own marketplace. And generally what they're doing in that marketplace is rewarding their customers for buying their phone by giving them free apps. So my wife has an LG and I have a Samsung. I have a Samsung store that gives me some free apps. She has an LG store that gives her some free apps. Quite frankly, LG has better free apps. But they don't have as good a hardware, right? So that's their incentive saying, well, buy an LG, it's a Windows Phone 7, same experience. The Samsung has a AMOLED screen. It's the lightest Windows Phone there is. It's only 4.5 ounces or something like that. It's only a millimeter thicker than the iPhone 4, I think. It's a really solid, nice, light, and super bright phone with better battery life. The LG is a heavier phone, more solid. You could probably drop it from a higher point, but it's not as good in all the other ways. So what are they doing? You get 10 free apps in a month, I think, is what they're doing. They're filling their marketplace, their LG marketplace, full of 10 free apps a month. And so you can download these apps. And actually, they're pretty good apps. In fact, one of them is Crashfinder, which is the highest rated game that's not an Xbox Live game. And it's free on the LG marketplace.
Is there standardization of the processing power? So can LG throw in like a 1.0, like 8.4 based chip? And
There's only a minimum. They have to be above 1 gigahertz. Anything above 1 gigahertz is fair game. I believe that most of them are running Snapdragon. I believe this one is not a Snapdragon, Hummingbird. What? Hummingbird, maybe?
I think that's Samsung too. So are they still, this may be an unfair question, is it still tied to like the ARM architecture, or does Windows Phone 7 also pursuing Intel?
I believe it's all ARM, I think. In fact, I think ARM is where we're going. Microsoft announced at their last conference, the PDC conference, that they have successfully ported the entire Windows 7 to run on ARM. And so they can now run a full version of Windows 7 on a tablet with no cooling fan, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you think about that from the enterprise point of view, how much software do I have that I have on my employees' laptops that they're running around with? And now I can take the exact same software, don't have to go through a marketplace and run it on a tablet. That's pretty cool. They are selling some Windows 7 tablets, but I think most people are waiting for Windows 8 tablet-specific features that are coming in Windows 8. I don't have a lot of things to talk about with this slide here. Build things on the screen, push it to the cloud. Everything you do on the Windows Phone is really intended not to live on the phone. It's really intended to live in the cloud, either through your live service or your Facebook service. You can set up your phone, and most people do, so that every single picture you take is automatically backed up to SkyDrive. You get something like 20 gigs of space in SkyDrive. I have every photo I've ever taken automatically backed up on SkyDrive, so I don't lose it. You can also set it up so that every single photo you take automatically posts to your Facebook if you feel that confident that you take good photos every time, first time. I don't do that, I push them one at a time. But Microsoft for obvious reasons, has significant emphasis on building apps that leverage the cloud. Leverage our cloud, leverage your own cloud. We really want it to be strictly computing, and that's kind of where Microsoft's vision is going with the 3 screens in the cloud. Your mobile, your TV, your computer. And so there are a lot of things in the phone that support that philosophy of this is just a portal into your life, it's not your life. If you lose your phone, everything else is probably someplace else. In fact, you can't even store contacts locally on your phone. You have to store them someplace else. Your Exchange server, your live contacts, your Facebook contacts. Your contacts don't live only on your phone. So there's 2 flavors of application development for Windows Phone 7. This is more of the app development, Silverlight. Silverlight is kind of the software development platform we use for building apps. XNA is the language used for building high intensity games. XNA is the language that are used for the independent game developers that do Xbox. The really high-end studios don't use XNA because XNA uses DirectX. They use something else that gets closer to the video drivers. But XNA is the .NET programming language that has built-in game looping for doing high-action games. Silverlight is the application platform you're probably going to use if you're doing smallish games, because they can be a little bit easier to write if you don't understand game loop and things like that and update times. But certainly if you're doing data-driven apps, you're probably going to be doing them in Silverlight. I have a hard time believing anybody would ever do a data-driven app in XNA. Both of them are .NET. So there are a lot of things that are common to both of those. XNA and Silverlight are really just how do I present my UI. You can do all of these things regardless of which UI platform you picked, because in the end it's just .NET. You get full support to the data onboard data store, which we call isolated storage, call all the web APIs to get out and do your web services, your store reporting, and anything else you want to do. You can do anything you want to do that's basically under the UI level from those 2 platforms. All of the tools, this surprises a lot of people who didn't already know this, all of the tools for Windows Phone 7 development are free. Not just Visual Studio Express for Windows Phone 7 is free, but also the design tools. That was a big shock for, I think, a lot of people when they heard that, is that the design tools today are not sold with Visual Studio. We, as developers, would love to say, look, I just bought this very expensive Visual Studio, but I kind of need Blend in order to make this thing look nice. That's why I do Silverlight, because I want to build nice looking apps, but look, I have to buy 2 products. When we kind of expected that we would get a version of the development platform, we were really surprised when we got the design tools for free as well. And so that's really interesting. You can go out and download the toolkit for free and start playing with it today. The emulator comes with it, and you can build apps for the emulator and even get them published in the marketplace without putting them on a real phone. I would recommend it. But because this platform is standardized, you actually could build apps and get into the marketplace doing it only on the emulator. In fact, a lot of the early apps were built that way because phones weren't released, but people were sticking apps out in the marketplace. A very familiar web concepts. We're going to see a lot of this in the demo that I've got here. That what you see on the phone is very similar to what you see on your laptop or on your PC. Sessions, histories, tabs. You have a shell and a frame. What do we got here? Life cycle. Does anybody want to talk about life cycle of an app? Well, I guess this is apps, some of the marketplace stuff. Every app that goes in the marketplace goes through a similar validation process like the iPhone. You probably have heard Microsoft folks refer to the Android store as the Wild Wild West. You can get anything in there you want. The Windows Marketplace is a little bit different than that. They do require certification of your app, but if it's rejected, they tell you exactly why it's rejected, and they tell you what you have to do to fix it, unlike what you hear is a very small percentage, but a lot of people that complain about their apps getting rejected out of the Apple Store. So if Windows does reject your app, they will tell you why, and they'll tell you what you have to do to fix it. The interesting thing that I wonder how long will survive in terms of a marketplace policy is that you sign up for an account for $99 and that gets you an account in the marketplace and it sets up your bank account and they verify it. It's basically a feed for them to make sure that they can get money in your bank account and you are a real person and not a bot. So it costs you $99 to get a marketplace account. You can submit as many paid apps to the marketplace as you want, no restriction, and if you submit a paid app and it gets rejected over and over and over again, no big deal, just send it again, send it again, send it again. Most developers are seeing anywhere from a 1-day to a 5-day turnaround. The last month, there were some people complaining that it took up to 8 or 9 days. Apparently, we're getting a lot of apps. They're putting about a little over 1,000 apps a month into the marketplace. What's interesting, though, and this is the policy that I wonder how long will last, is that your $99 to get a marketplace account lets you publish 5 free apps. And so this is part of we don't need 1,000 fart apps in the App Store, right? So if you only get 5 free apps, you're probably going to spend the time to make the free app a worthwhile app that you're going to spend some time on and make it a quality app. And so this is part of this process that Microsoft's trying to do to not be super restrictive and mysterious, but also not just flood the Android marketplace like we have in the Android marketplace full of apps that no one would ever want to run. Like, for example, how many people know Don Felker? He's an awesome, awesome Android dev. He wrote a book, Android for Dummies. #1 technology book last week. #1 of all development books. It was amazing. I was shocked. He's awesome. Anyway, when Don goes to conference, he builds a real app, and it's Hello World, and he publishes it. And he's got 100 apps that are Hello World in the Android marketplace. And they're apps that are in the Android marketplace. And those count as Android marketplace apps. And so you wonder how many apps are in the Android marketplace that are just junk, that they're not really an app. Somebody did a demo or they were trying it out, or hey, it's a free Friday night. Let's see how easy this is. I got an app up, I downloaded it. Oh, that's cool. But then the app lives there forever. So the Windows marketplace is intended to say, if you're going to put a free app up, know that you get 5. Now here's the really sucky part about that.
Is it like 5 at any one time, or is that
5 total. I mean, if you take it down, if you pull the app down,
sale rates in 99 cents?
you buy another account. Oh, yeah, if you put it at 99 cents, you can get as many of those as you want.
And then you want to drop it down. But like at one time, you can only have 5 is what I'm asking.
Well, it's worse than that. And this is the thing that I question, most developers question, is that if you submit a free app and it gets rejected because you made a mistake, that counts. And a lot of people are saying, what? That's not right. Come on, I can put a 99-cent app in there and submit it 1,000 times and have you rejected 1,000 times. But if I make the mistake once on a free app, you're going to ding me on it. Now let's say that you actually are a free app developer, you're freemium, and that's what you do, that's your business model. Well, then every app over 5, you can spend another $20 and it's, and get it in there. So this is the policy that I'm really not so sure about. It'll be interesting to see how long that policy stays in place because a lot of developers are complaining about it. But I understand their motivation. Let's keep the crap out. Let's try to make the marketplace as clean and good as possible. But it's really one of those fuzzy lines.
I had a question about games. So Xbox Live, I ran into someone last week in London at the Mobile Games Forum conference that was from Microsoft, and she worked for like the Xbox Live studios or something.
Yeah.
So it's different though to get published and be integrated with Xbox Live, right?
That's right.
It's separate from the marketplace.
Nobody here could just build an Xbox Live game and have it connect in with Xbox Live. You have to be invited by Microsoft to have gamer achievements to reflect your Xbox Live store. They do have studios other than Microsoft Studios building Xbox Live integrated games, but you have to build a relationship there. You just don't get to hook into that API.
So if you submit an app as a paid app, can you move it down to a free app?
Yeah, actually, that's one of my tricks that I'm planning on trying is I'll stick an app out there for 99 cents and put in the description, this is going to be a free app, or maybe it does already a free app, but please feel free to buy this one and support our cause, right? Because once you know that it passes certification at the 99 cents, which you do over and over and over again, then you can submit it as a free app and not worry that you made a mistake and lost money to buy a free one. And so there are some tricks like that. There are other people out there saying, here's an app with ads, or for 99 cents you can buy it without ads. Now obviously they're trying to stick the one out there without ads first to make sure it gets through your approval process, and then they stick the free one out there second to make sure that they don't make a mistake and lose one of their 5 free spots. So that's why people are gaming the system, and it's hurting the good developers as much as it's keeping the crap out. And so we got to try to figure out how do we not hurt the good developers and still keep the crap out.
So can you change the price without resubmitting the app?
I don't know about that. I think you can, but I'm not sure. There hasn't been a lot of price movement in the marketplace yet, because the marketplace is only 3 months old. But I have heard some apps move price. I have no idea if it was because they resubmitted it or if they just changed the price. I'm not sure about that yet. Something else that's interesting with the marketplace is that if you want to deploy to a real physical device, you have to have a marketplace account. So if you want to do development just for yourself and try stuff out, and you want to do it on a real phone, right now you have to buy a marketplace account, $99. You can unlock up to 5 phones. You can change the 5 phones if you happen to have 15 people in your family, and you want to have people try out your stuff. You can take somebody off your plan, which will cause that app to be uninstalled, and put somebody else on your marketplace plan to get 5 phones at any one time. These are some of the cloud integration platforms they integrate with. This is a slide on tombstoning. There is no background processing yet. We expect we'll get that this year for Windows 7, but there isn't any yet. So when your app is suspended, you as a software developer have to save your game state. There's 2 types of suspend. One is suspend to memory, which is a quick recovery. So for example, if you're using an app and playing a game and you get a phone call, that's a suspend to memory. If you go back to the launch screen, that's a suspend to permanent storage. And so you have to handle both of those types. There's all this animation about what's the difference between this and that. It's a suspend. And you can write to isolated storage, which is an XML store on here, a file-based store. Most people are using XML to store to it. Or you can push it to memory if it's just a